Good day, my wonderful people. You're welcome back to the channel. This is Uglo Fashion, and thank you so much for stopping by. Can you see the lovely style on my mannequin? So this is what we'll be learning today. A cowl gown with inbuilt belt. It also has slits down and little opening at the neckline. So please stay tuned and enjoy the tutorial. Let me show you how the belt in is. The inbuilt belt, you can see. So you just tie it to your waist. So please stay tuned and enjoy the tutorial. Like and share the video. This is the fabric I'll be working with today. It's a silk fabric. And I have 2 yards of fabric here. Also, this is the measurements I'll be working with. This is the bust, the under bust. Though actually the part that I need here is from shoulder to nipple point, under bust and the rest. So first of all, I placed it on my table and I ensure the 2 edges are equal. I place the edges together, and when you are cutting, please, if you are using a flowered material, follow the pattern of the flower. So just watch the direction of the flower and ensure you follow how the pattern is so you don't make mistake. So because the flower is facing the upper side, I decided to rearrange and place it this way. So these are the 2 edges I first placed on each other, and the joint part I placed it on the 2 edges. So I have it folded into 4 now. But please note I left 2 inches allowance at the front. That's because of the little opening and also the slits down. So I have 2 inches here. So this part that has 2 inches will be for the front, and the part that doesn't have any inches will be for the back. As in the folded part here will be for the back. Now for this style, I'll be measuring from shoulder to nipple point, shoulder to nipple point, shoulder to under bust, shoulder to half length, shoulder to hip length, then shoulder to knee length. So this knee length will be where the slits we start from. So you can use anything for the knee length. It depends on how you want the split to be. If you want it longer, if you want it close to your hip, all well and good. So then I'll measure shoulder to the hem line, that is the gown length. And also please note, for the shoulder side, you measure from the middle of your neckline to where you want the sleeve to end. So I went ahead to rule out all of this, that is the part that I've measured. I ruled them out. So for the neckline, the next thing is to cut the neckline. And for the neckline, I try to readjust the camera so you can see. The neckline, I used 3 inches for the width. And please note, I did not start from the 2 inches allowance. I start from the back, which is the joint part. That's because the allowance is not going to be involved in the neckline at all. So, and I came down by 1. So the back bodies will be 3 inches by 1. The length is 1 inch. The width is 3 inches. So I went ahead to cut the 2 together since they are still on top of each other. I've not separated the back from the front bodies. Then for the shoulder here, you know I said your desired length, that is from the middle of your back to wherever you want your sleeve to end. But for this now, I'll be coming down with just 1 inch. Then this will be the slope for the neckline. This will help the sleeve to fall very well on the shoulder, that is to rest very well on the shoulder and the sleeve properly. So I went ahead to cut that out as well. That's the 1 inch. If you notice, I just slant it from the shoulder back to the neckline. And also for the sleeve, where the sleeve is going to come out from, you know it's cut together sleeve now. So where the sleeve is going to come out from, I came down with 1 inch after the nipple point, and this is because I don't want the armpit to be showing, or I don't want, let me just say, I don't want any situation whereby if you raise your hand your bust will be showing. So that's why I used 1 inch after the nipple point. Then having done with that, I went ahead to measure the circumference of the hip. So the circumference of the hip divided by 4, but I'm not going to use that on the hip. I'll be using it at the knee length. That's because it is a cowl gown. The part that needs to be shaped is the knee length. So I'll be marking the hip circumference at the knee length. Then I'll connect it back to the bust point, that is the 1 inch I used for the sleeve. So I'll be connecting it with a slant shape back to that point, as you can see. Sorry, the chalk is not really visible, but I think you can still trace it, and if you listen very well to my explanation, you'll get it better. So whatever I used for the knee length, I'll transfer the same measurement to the hem line, to the gown length. So the gown side will be tiny, while the other side will be wide. You can see the way the shape is. So, and I went ahead to cut it out. So just be careful while you are cutting. Now this is the shape we have, and now separated from the back. I separated the back from the front. The next thing is to work on the neckline of the front. You know, initially I used 1 inch, but now I'll be measuring 4 inch from the shoulder. That is, it will now be 3.3 inches by 4. That is, the length now is 4. It's no longer 1 inch. You know, the 1 inch it was because I used they were still together. At least the back and the front were still together. That was why I used 1 inch. So after cutting the 4 inches, I still went ahead, because of the opening I added 2 inches extra. But this 2 inches, if you notice, I did not cut it out. I just notch it. So that's the 2 inches notch, and the 2 inches extra allowance for the split, I notched that also. So where the split will be starting from at the hem line, at the knee length, I'll be notching that too. You know, the 2 inches I left initially was for the slits and also for the opening at the upper bodies, at the neckline. So now the one for the knee length, I'll be notching it now. I went ahead to notch that. So if I'm sewing, I'll just stop there and hem the remaining. So for the neckline, I went ahead to cut my facing. Initially I intended using bias tape, but I changed my mind and I decided to use facing because I believe it will make it neater. So if you are cutting your facing, you just ensure that you fold it into 2, place it on the bodies, the main bodies, then cut the same neckline, the same shape of the neckline, just cut it out. But because of the little opening, that is the 2 inches I left for the opening of the neckline, I had to slit the middle of the facing, and also I shaped it out from the main bodies. Just ensure the opening is not much. Just cut out the 2 inches and leave the middle the way it is. You can see how it is now. That's the facing. That's for the front. So for the back, I also folded the fabric into 2 like this. Then I placed it under the bodies, trace out the neckline, and ensure that it's longer than the normal neckline. I added like 5 inches to make it longer than the normal neckline. So if you don't know how to cut facing, I have videos on that also, on how to cut it, that I'll drop in the description box. Then I went ahead to add my paper stay, my interface. I added it to the neckline. to the facing and also to the neckline, and I ironed ½ inch at the edge in. That's because I'll be making use of my hemming gum to do the finishing. So having done with the back bodies, I went ahead to do that of the front. So I first stitched the middle, which is the allowance I added, the 2 inches allowance. I stitch it out so you can see where I stopped. So the next thing now is to fold 1/4 inch, but I won't be using my machine. I'll just use iron to fold 1/4 inch, then use my hemming gum to hem the two together to give it a good finishing. The next thing now is to stitch the neckline. I've also added facing and hem ½ inch at the edge of the facing. So I went ahead to stitch the neckline this way. So having done with that, I ironed it with my hemming gum. So I've ironed the facing to the main bodies of the fabric. The next step, you can see the middle also, and for the slits, see, I've ironed it also with my hemming gum. You can see how neat it is. See the neatness. So I prefer doing this instead of stitching on it. The next thing now is to fix the shoulder of both front and back together. So I decided not to hem the neckline of the back bodies yet. That's because I want the neckline of the front to be in between the facing of the back and the back bodies. Then I stitch the, let me say 4 now because of the facing of the front, the facing of the back, and the fabric as well. So after doing that for one side, I did the same for the other side. I stitched the 4 together. The next step now is to fix the belt. So the measurement I used for the belt is like 5 inches, and the reason is the bigger the belt, the more the fitting. Let me put it that way, because if the belt is tiny, the fitting may not really be much. So after stitching that, I went ahead to measure from shoulder to the half length. Even though I've measured that before, but I had to rechalk because it's not really showing. So, and then from the middle of the neckline, that is where I stitched earlier, you measure 5 inch. That's where you'll be placing your belt. 5 inch from the middle, then from shoulder to the half length. So now I'll place the belt at the half length, then stitch it up. I hope you understand what I'm saying. So the 5 inch will be like from the half length upward. So which means if I placed it, it must end at the half length. You can see. So I also marked it at the other side, and I'll be stitching it this way too. So it's end at the half length. Please note that the belt will end at the half length. It's not starting from the half length, it will end at the half length. Then after stitching the belt, I went ahead to fold the sleeve. I folded it twice, then stitch on it. So I stitch on the sleeve side and ironed the sleeve side. The next thing now is to stitch my allowance out, and I used like ½ inch for the allowance, because you don't really need much allowance for this, since we did not add any extra allowance. We just used our shoulder to sleeve measurements. Thank you very much for watching this video to the end. Please, if it has done you any good, like and share the video. And please, if you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Do that immediately. Stay blessed and have a nice day. Bye.